Hey, it's time for what I read during the month of March. So, I had quite a few. I think I have a total of 16 that I read during the month of March. So, I'm going to kind of go through them pretty quick. I don't remember what all exactly the order was that I read these in, but I will let you know when I think it's a good or not so good book. So, let's start off with Stephen King. I'm trying to read one or two Stephen Kings every month. And so I read Stephen King, If It Bleeds. This is basically a four story collection. I guess four novellas, you would say. Mr. Harrigan's Phone is one. Life of Chuck, If It Bleeds, and Rats. So, all the stories were pretty good except for Life of Chuck. I didn't quite. That one was just kind of to me. If It Bleeds is excellent. If you've read any of Mr. Mercedes or some of the other ones, you will enjoy that one. And Rat is just a fun story of a writer being off in the woods kind of by himself, or in a cabin by himself. So it was an enjoyable one. Is it Stephen King's best? No. But it's worth the read. If you like little short novella kind of things, you could pick it up, read one at a time or what have you. And it was fun. I think I'd probably give it like a 4-star just because I'm a sucker. Next I read it's just a little short by Jack Williamson, Salvage in Space. I wish this was longer. It's very short. This is like a printed, little published copy of the short story by itself. I don't know where this was first released, which magazine or collection or anthology this was in. I've wanted to read some Jack Williamson, and this one sounded really interesting to me, so I went ahead and picked up. Basically, it's a salvage ship finding another ship that seems to be empty, but it's not. And that's all I will say about that. It's very short. Very short. So I wish it was a whole story, and maybe one of his other stories is made in, that was taken from that little short and completed into a larger story. I don't know. I haven't really looked into that yet. If so, I would like to read that one because it was grabbed my interest even just in the short. Next I read Kissing the Bee by Kathy Koja. I wanted to read some more Koja. I have only read the cipher, and so I just kind of picked one at random. And this one is basically just a YA novel about a girl who's in love with her best friend's boyfriend. And that's really it. So it's basically her going on about wanting to be with the guy. So I thought, I read the cipher, and if you've read the cipher, you're kind of expecting something different from Koja. I didn't read the synopsis or anything. I just grabbed it off my shelf and started. So it is very much just a YA drama about high school kids. So that's about it. Pretty much it. So was it good? Yeah, it was written fine. Is it my thing? Not so much. But it's written well, and if that's your thing, you'll probably love it. This one I was so excited for. I could not wait to get to this one. Okay? A ghost ship, a salvage crew, unspeakable horrors, dead silence. A haunted house story in space. Does this just not sound like maybe Event Horizon, the movie, or something, or something along those lines where it's just space horror? That is like my favorite. And so I was so excited for this and thought that's what it was going to be. And it was kind of a letdown. It was not, it wasn't really a space horror. It was more kind of just like a thriller, really. It's more about the main character's difficulties. And it wasn't like a driving horror. So it was really good, but I went into it, I think, with the wrong idea of what it was going to be, because this basically tells me that's what it's going to be. and it wasn't. So it was definitely not horrific. It was not terrifying. There wasn't really, there was a couple, scenes where it was like intense, but it was short-lived. So it was okay. I mean, I'd probably still give it 4 stars just because it was a fun read, but I wish I'd gone into it thinking it was something a little bit different and not that. So I then read Alfred Bester, The Stars, My Destination. And I'm probably going to get some hate for this one, but I didn't like it. I didn't really like it at all. I thought it was written in in a weird way. I just did not like the characters. I did not like the basic premise, like to start with, was okay. Like the first, I don't know, a few chapters or whatever. I don't think it's going to spoil much, but he's basically, the one guy is in a spaceship or in a space station or whatever, and he wants to be rescued. Very basic. Wants to be rescued, and a ship passes him by and doesn't rescue him, so he's pissed. Super pissed, and all he wants to do is go kill that person, and that's it. That's the whole story. He wants to revenge his not being picked up, and he is hate driven and just wants to go murder that individual who made that decision to not get him. So I mean, it's kind of it kind of drags on with that and gets old. There's also this weird writing style inside. I'm gonna try and find some of them for you, where it's written like you can see the text written out like in a strange way. So it's like trying to be, I don't know, creative or whatever, and it's kind of obnoxious to try and read it. When you're already not into it, and you gotta like, play the games of trying to figure out what's actually being written on the page. It's not super fun. So, I mean, and this goes on for a little while. So you can see, this is like supposedly one of the best books ever written from back in the day. It is, I guess, heralded as the beginning of the cyberpunk kind of stories. Maybe I just don't like cyberpunk. I don't know. It did not do it for me at all. And I kind of had to, like force myself to get all the way through it, but I knew I needed to. So, all right. One of the best ones that I read this month, and maybe you're starting to see my what I like, or I don't know. One of my favorite ones I read this month was Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. I burned through this one so fast. I didn't really even like the movie all that much when it came out a long time ago. Maybe if I rewatched it now, I'd enjoy it better. This has the biggest, fattest text I think I've seen in a book lately. It is huge. This one I think I read in 2 sittings also. It's very large text and very short. But this, I don't know, it was so enjoyable. You just got right into it, and you were in it. You were wanting to know what was going to happen. Yeah, it's gross and weird and body horror and nastiness that most people probably wouldn't like. The first part was like, okay. First chapter, I was like, all right, okay, a little unnecessaries, but it just captured my attention, and I wanted to know what was going to happen, and I was along for the ride all the way through. So if you like horror, if you like anything Clive Barker's done, you will probably enjoy this, even if you didn't like the movie. Oh, did I mention it's the movie that Hellraiser's based off of? Sorry, I don't know if I even said that, but Hellraiser came basically from this, and then there's other ones in line after that. So if you like any of that stuff, you will probably thoroughly enjoy the Hellbound Heart. So one that I hated this book. I was very excited for this. This is what it says: Extreme Space Horror Okay, so I looked up on I basically looked up on eBay like space horror books, or I forget where. Maybe I wasn't looking on eBay, but I was looking somewhere for like space horror, like, and I was thinking, okay, extreme space horror, like stuff that's really scary, like super like intense. I want something that's kind of like I'm okay. I'm a little afraid to keep reading this right now. It's getting to me, and not a lot does that. Really, I can't think of much of anything that does that. So I was thinking, okay, well, extreme space horror. That's gonna be okay. That's gonna be good. I can't wait to read that. And this is just like maybe extreme horror is like a subgenre of this that I'm not aware of, and using that word extreme puts you in this category. But I did not like this at all in any way, shape, or form. It's basically, I don't think anybody's gonna read it. I don't know, maybe you are. It's basically like a meteor hits the spaceship, and then a disease happens upon the spaceship, and they become kind of cannibalistic. But what they do as cannibals is it's just drawn out for like, I don't know, 7/8 of the book of what they're doing, but it's not like they just decided to take this person and eat their flesh. It's like what they did to the body while they were doing it. It's just disgusting. So I kind of wish I never read it, because it's just gross, and not gross in a good way, if you know what I mean. I don't know if that makes sense. Like I love like the Saw movies and stuff like that, so I don't mind like gross horror, like where limbs are getting chopped off and things are happening. I don't care about that. That stuff's that doesn't bother me. On top of the worst book I read all month, here is one of the best books I read all month. Pet Sematary by Stephen King. This is the first horror movie that I ever saw when I was younger. It's the first movie I saw that was anything kind of horrific to me. And so it kind of kicked off my love of things that are horrific. I had never read this before, and I actually drove to Idaho at the beginning of the month, last month, or March, and drove to Idaho and drove back, and I listened to this on audiobook, and it was narrated by Michael C. Hall, who plays Dexter, if you've seen Dexter before, and many other things, but Dexter's what I've known him for. And he did a phenomenal job. He did such a good job, and I was just so into it. And I think it's like, I don't know, like 14 hours or something like that. It's a long one, and it was so enjoyable. Having watched the movie when I was younger, I didn't like remember all the details about it, and so it was just really neat to get into this and actually have everything sink back in as if it was new. It also has a little synopsis kind of thing at the beginning where Stephen King talks about how this is based on a real event that happened to him, that he was at this town where there was big busy road in front of him, and his kid ran for the street, and he chased down his kid, and he was afraid he was going to get hit by a truck, and the kid like fell over or something and didn't get hit by the truck, and then it got his mind reeling about like what would happen if someone had this happen or did this or whatever, and it just kind of sparked that whole vision of the book itself. So it was really cool to hear that, and it gave a different insight into the story. This also was a book that he had put aside and was never going to release because it was too dark and too twisted, he said. And so he owed a copy to one of the publishers that he was leaving. Basically, he owed a book to them that he didn't have, and so he pulled this one out of the desk and gave it to him, and then the rest is history. So Pet Sematary, phenomenal, easy 5 stars for me. One of the #1 books I read in the month of March. Next, I read, and these aren't all in order specifically. I also read Martha Wells' All Systems Red. This is the first in the Murderbot diaries. I have all, there's 6, I believe. I have all 6 of them, or I have 5 of them. I think I have all 6 of them. But I read this first one. This is so hyped up. Like, you can just type this in on YouTube and you'll have a trillion videos of people watching it, and they're all raving how fantastic this book is. It was okay. It was kind of boring. It's very character driven about just the robot. I didn't really care, to be honest. I'm going to read the rest of them because I think maybe now that this one's out of the way, they'll get better, because it's not really just, you know, talking about how the robot has an attitude and kind of does his own thing but doesn't do his own thing. I don't know. It was just okay. Hugo and Nebula award winner. I don't know. So it was just okay. I was not impressed. So not impressed. So that one, I'm going to read the other ones, and maybe I'll be more impressed as I read along. I don't know. So I also read Robert Heinlein, Orphans of the Sky. This one has a cool sort of premise where they're on a spaceship and there's these classes that are separated by, you know, mutants and non-mutants kind of thing. It's just okay also. I feel like it was like not hashed out the way that it should be. It just I don't know. It kind of like, I don't know. It was just dry. I don't know really how else to explain that. It was just like not engulfing, not entertaining, not anything. It just kind of trudged along through the book and was over. I was like, oh, okay. Not a fantastic book. Doesn't really necessarily make me want to read more Heinlein. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. I've heard things about how Heinlein's like not a good guy, but I don't know. I don't get that necessarily from reading his book. This book it's just a kind of blasé book, I guess. I don't know. Keith Laumer, Plague of Demons. This one is pretty fun. It starts off kind of fast-paced a little bit. Basically, there's a man who kind of goes undercover in a way, and there's these he ends up being able to see these things that are not human, and they're after him, and it's a chase kind of book where he's being chased pretty much the whole time. Then at about 2/3 of the book, it switches almost completely to a totally different story. It seems like, even though it's not, it almost like flip-flops to a, like, what just happened? What is going on? And it seems like it just goes whoop to a whole other thing. So I wonder if this was maybe two stories put together. I don't know. It's still good, but it's just it's like it takes a minute for you to kind of process. Like, wait, what? Did I like skip like 10 pages or something, or what? You know. All right. So next up, I read The Rats by James Herbert. The Rats is super fun. It is typical 80s horror, you know. It is just a fun read. I don't know if I would consider it like a 5-star read, just because it's like, you know, not top of the heap of anything really. It is super enjoyable though. Makes me want to read every single 80s horror that I have, and I have a lot. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I breezed through it. I wanted to read it. I just didn't want to put it down because it's just fun. It's just fun. I like it. So basically, mutated rats take over, I think, London, and you know, their bites are fatal. So there you go. And I picked up immediately after that Lair, which is the sequel to Rats, and I read through this one. And the cool thing is that at the epilogue of this one is the prologue of this one, and they take place immediately after. So you could basically read them back to back as if they were one novel. And then I read the finale to it all, Domain. And Domain was my least favorite of the three. I really thoroughly enjoyed Rats. I really thoroughly enjoyed Lair. Rats was a little more like different characters and scenarios happening throughout. Lair was a little more focused on a smaller people group than this one was. So, and then Domain was like kind of a separate in a way that picked up later. But all in all, would I recommend all three of these to read? Absolutely. I think anybody who loves 80s horror will love this. Anybody who loves like Animals Attack or creature feature kind of thing will thoroughly enjoy these, and worth your time for sure. Now I read also Roger Zelazny's This Immortal. I have been wanting to read this for so long because of this cover. This is one of the first movies that this is one of the first books that I picked up way back when, where I grabbed just solely for the cover. The short is originally called Call Me Conrad. It's very kind of character driven rather than story. The story is kind of weak and you don't really know what's going on half the time. But basically he's a guy who's lived for a really long time, and he's watched the earth go through different changes, and there are tours that go on to show different types of the old earth, and there's aliens that are also there kind of I don't know, taking over or whatever, or constantly wanting to kill people. So that's basically what I got, and he needs to stop him, or at least the one that's after the guy that he's watching. It's a confusing book. I didn't love it, and the more I didn't want to read it, the more I didn't care, so probably the more I didn't follow the plot. It just wasn't that enjoyable to me. I had a kind of hit and miss this month. I had some good, great, fantastic ones and some kind of duds. But I was so wanting to read. I so wanted this to be fantastic also. All right, so probably my favorite book of the month. Pet Sematary is pretty close. I don't know. I really enjoyed Pet Sematary. Probably my favorite though is Edge of Tomorrow. And All You Need Is Kill is the original title name of this. I read this, then I immediately went and watched the movie with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. My son had never seen the movie, so we went and watched it together, and he loved it. It's on my list of top like 35 movies that I've loved in sci-fi. And so I read the book, showed him the movie, and then I happened upon the manga version as well. And so I read that on top of it. This is phenomenal. It is basically word for word for the original novel. And the movie and the novel are different, but they're both fantastic. The novel is better, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just gripping. It just grabbed you and you were into it and couldn't wait to find out more. Even though if you've seen the movie, you kind of know what's happening. I still wanted to know what was happening. I also found, while I was out this weekend, another copy in the original, not movie tie-in, or maybe not original, but the non-movie tie-in version of the same book. So I now have the movie tie-in, the non-movie tie-in, and the manga version as well. So super excited for those. I think that's it for the month of March. I think that's all the ones I read. So if it bleeds, okay. Salvage in Space, good short story. Kissing the Bee, very YA, but decently written. Dead Silence, enjoyable. Not space horror, but space thriller, maybe. So go into it with that and you'll probably enjoy it. It's still enjoyable either way. I just was waiting for the something. Alphabester, you'll probably like it since I don't. Stars My Destination. Cyberpunky type. Classic, which was okay. Hellbound Heart, enjoyable. Good horror. Crave, dumpster fire. Pet Cemetery, phenomenal. One of Stephen King's best. This may be in the top for me now. This may be my number one Stephen King now. I don't know. It's up there. I loved it. Orphans in the Sky, okay. Edge of Tomorrow, All You Need Is Kill, absolutely phenomenal. Highly recommend reading if you've never read it, especially if you enjoyed the movie. The Rat's Lair Domain series by James Herbert from the 80s is so worth your read. If you are an 80s fanatic, you will enjoy it as well. 80s horror paperbacks, you will thoroughly enjoy that. Also, This Immortal, a little more character driven, less story. If you're more character driven, you will probably enjoy that. I wasn't a super fan. Keith Laumer, Plague of Demons, enjoyable, worth the read. Just know that it's going to have a confusing change partway through that you might get a little lost on, so you might have to go back and reread a page or two and see what exactly just happened. And All Systems Red, Martha Wells, Murderbot Diaries, in my opinion, just kind of mediocre. So that's it. I think that's it. Oh, you know what? I want to pick out some of the ones that I'm going to read for this next month, and I'm going to show you. And so I have a couple here that I wanted to read that I have already sitting aside. I have 2 that I'm working on in my room already, and I'm going to pick a couple more from behind me here so you can be a part of that. The first one I have right in here next to me is H.G. Wells' The Island of Dr. Moreau. I've wanted to read this one for a little while. I just read a couple other H.G. Wells, so I kind of want to keep going, read through. I need to pick up a Bradbury. Maybe I'll grab a Bradbury out of there too, because those are both classics. I want to read The Troop by Nick Cutter. So I've heard a lot about this, that it has some great body horror and things like that in it. I've heard from some it's too blah, not that great, and some that it's fantastic. So we'll see. There's those 2. Snowman. Gotta read the back. It left the Himalayas crazed with hunger. It trekked across the Asian wastes, making its way from Siberia to Alaska. Down the face of North America it came, 25 feet of not quite human animal with a desperate craving for human flesh. Then, at last, on a serene California mountain, at a lush ski resort, it found what it was after. That sounds good. So that's on my list. That's kind of an 80s one, I guess. Dan Simmons' Hyperion, and I just finally picked up all 4 and or 3 other ones in hardcover. I don't have this one in hardcover yet, but I just got all 4 in, and I want to start this series. So there's those. I am also in the middle of this, which I read a short here and there periodically in between books, or if I know that I'm tired and I can only get through a short or something at night. So there's those ones that I'm working on. Let's pick some other ones here. I'm going to go with at least over here that you can't see is some of my 80s ones that I want to read. Up here are some of the horror ones that I want to read, and down here are the ones that I picked out ahead of time for the year back in January. So I'm going to pick 2 from here and 1 from there and 1 from there. We'll do that. So I can actually so I can put a dent in these ones. Let's see here. What do I want to? It's hard to pick ahead of time when it's gonna be like 2 weeks. Or like I don't know, like you don't know what state you're gonna be in. Oh, I did say I'd pick an Arthur C. Clarke. So no, I said Ray Bradbury. Sorry. Let's go with a Bradbury. And the only one I see right here, the only one I see is Fahrenheit 451. Oh, okay, Siri. So let's go with Fahrenheit 451, I guess. That's what we're doing. We'll do that one. Pick another one here. Let's see. How about Hot House? I've been wanting to read this one for quite a while too. So, Aldous Hot House. We pick one from up top here. Okay, yeah, I want to do it. Oh, I don't know. I want to read more than one up top. Bad Brains, Kathy Koja. I'm gonna pick one more. Let's see. Oh man, I'm gonna give you guys a choice. Maybe you guys tell me. I got 3 here that I really would like to read. 4, sorry, that I've been wanting to read. Okay, you tell me in the comments which one of these I should read. Eric LaRocca, The Trees Grew Because I Bled There. Eric LaRocca, Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. Ring Shout by Jilly Clark, P. Jilly Clark. And You've Lost a Lot of Blood, Eric LaRocca. Well, apparently there's a few Eric LaRoccas there. So one of the Eric LaRoccas or Ring Shout. Let me know in the comments which one you think I should pick. And I'll read one of those as well. And then finally, another 80s one I want to read. Let's go with... Oh, why not? No, I can't do it. I think I need the first one. I was going to say Crab's Moon by Guy N. Smith, but I kind of want to find the first one. Or maybe, is this the first one? This can't be the first one. Is it? Oh no, there's Origin of the Crabs is the first one. Okay, I got to find that one first before I read this one. Let's go with, similar to rats, let's go with slugs. I'm ready for that one. That sounds good. Let's do it. So that's the upcoming for the month and what it was for last month. And let's see where we're at. I'm at, I think 40. Currently I'm at like 46 or 48 books for the year out of 100. And or plus 100 plus. I'd like to read more than 100, and right now I'm really on track to do that. These are the 2 that I like kind of set aside to get through. I think at 6 months I might reevaluate some of these because I've lost interest in a couple of them that I just don't want to read anymore. But we'll see. I may push through either way. So at least I'll put a giant dent in both of these here. So I think that's it. I'm excited. I'm excited to read more. I can't wait to get into some more stuff. So I will start with these, and then you let me know the other one, which one of the LaRocca or Ring Shout I should read next. So, all right, guys, appreciate you all, and thanks for hanging, and I'll talk to you soon.